Otsukimi here. Who else would it be? This is the Bitcoin brief for May 6th. Hope you've had a good day. We had a little bit of a kind of a weird day in the markets. Just there's some up, some down. We'll take a look at this mainly for these Bitcoin brief videos. We're gonna talk mostly Bitcoin. About half the video will be Bitcoin. The other half will be Ethereum and Solana. And so we'll kind of take a look at what has taken place. So first of all, I kind of actually just I do want to plug here just a little bit. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel, and so if you haven't subscribed, I would greatly appreciate it. I really do. It's free. I'm starting to update, pretty much every day. As you can see, I'm starting to get a little bit of growth in this. So I would really appreciate that. So that's pretty much it. I got a Patreon too, but I'm not going to really plug that. But that's the link is in the bio if you're interested in a trading group where I do daily videos. Beyond this one, usually it's altcoins and small caps, things like that. So for this video, we will cover Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Now we're only going to cover the daily time frame and the 4 hour. Usually, we do skip around sometimes, but mainly we stay on track with daily and 4 hour. If you want the 1 week or somewhere a little bit higher than daily time frames, check out my observations with Otsu video. I actually just released it earlier today. This is the Bitcoin run video. Okay, so we talked about that. So the ones that are tagged with the OWO, that's the observations with Otsu videos. So go ahead and check that out if you want to. If you want the weekly time frame, gives you that high time frame perspective that some of you may look for, and honestly, everybody should. I should say. I shouldn't say you should watch it, although I'm grateful if you did. But I see it like this. Like, I look at high time frames as a perspective to look at the dailies and lower. And so honestly, that's one reason why I do a lot of these videos. I do them for you all, but I also do them for myself. I'm taking a look at the markets anyway, so I just hit record, share my thoughts. A lot of times it's freestyle, and right now I'm doing it half freestyle anyway, and just kind of sharing it. And if it benefits you, that's great. So I'm just trying to do what I can. So anyway, enough rambling with that. If you're interested in the 1 week, check out that video. If you want the daily, look at this video, which I'll start pretty much now. So on the daily, we had a little bit of a drop down over the weekend. The daily actually closed bullish for the last 24-hour trading period, which actually quite surprised me. I thought that we would get a little bit more of a bearish move on Monday, but we didn't. Or I should say the first 24 hours. And so I don't know the historic accuracy for this year as far as what used to be called Bloody Mondays. We almost always would get a red Monday, and I do remember quite a few Mondays that have gone green instead. So anyway, it's neither here nor there. I just thought that was interesting based off of my analysis from the last Bitcoin brief video. I thought that we would go a little bit lower, but this is protected. So what you need to know here is you have a lot of chicken scratch here, but this inner blue band, the darker blue one right here, this is basically your support structure, and we need to really hold basically the roughly the recent low, about 93,600. And so far we're doing that. We went below it just a little bit and we breached back above. So overall that's pretty good, but we're still within this range. So we need to break above the mid as far as the price action goes, which is about 95,000, almost 95 even. And so we need to work with that to get that continuation. Now, a lot of people have been talking about kind of the range bound, and I agree. So like you have this bigger range bound, top side is the 99.3, low side is basically 96. And so within that, we got that mid range, which is right under that resistance. So we have a few different things going on. Get your range high at 99, range low at basically 90.5, mid level at 95, and then you're stuck with the sub level here at 93.5 at 95. So you got quite a few numbers to look at. You also have the trend, the Aaron trend here. It actually broke above in the trend, so we'll talk about here in a second, but it's still within this trend situation. So there's a lot of different things, and I'm not saying that to confuse you. I am saying that when you get a lot of these price points together, we do tend to coil a little bit. And so the danger is, so coils are probably a good thing. At this particular juncture, I do think that we're going to get that bullish impulse at some point, whether that's this week or next week. I don't quite know. But some people want to interpret this coiling as being impatient. And understanding that, hey, we might stall instead. I think that's a bad outlook. I think you really got to get out of that mindset of being impatient. Um, and you hear that a lot. I think a lot of traders, especially that have videos like I do, say that. And it is easy to say that, but at the same time, I don't necessarily mean just stay patient and then just wait for a certain move, although that is part of it. But the idea is start to prepare while you are waiting. Look at the levels and see where we can go, if we go up, if we go down, right? So the idea here is if you are waiting for a larger move, I would wait till we get to 99,000 to the upside. Or you could wait for the mid-range break, which I'll talk about here in just a second. If you're wanting the downside move, I would wait till if we lose the 90s. There is a chance that we can. I talked about this in a couple videos previously, that we could get to like 87,000 and even possibly 85, 84 here. This isn't quite a breaker, but this could be a good retest if we get to that, sub, 80s or sub 90s, I should say, into mid 80s. So we'll see where that goes. Aaron does have a bearish wedge here, so that is something to consider. It's one reason we're getting the downward move. The line here on the bullish side is 69%. Once we get below 50, that increases the chances of bullish momentum to occur and a bullish trend to occur as well. So we'll see where that goes. Ideally, you do want the line to go below 50 before the bulls have a chance to really take advantage of this. Like I said, the bottom line on here, 93.6, 93.7, that's the key range that we want to look at to hold bullish price action. So our side's looking fine. Nothing really to say here. It's at 60%. Now, what I want to say about the Aaron trend is like, since it broke above the trend here, you could long this. This is going to be a little bit riskier here. But what you could do is you could long basically the bottom side of this trend, and then you could go to the range high here. Now, this is only a 2.3 R, about 4 or 5%, very high leverage trade. I'm not into this personally, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. Now, the problem why I think this is a little hesitant is because my trend usually uses a stop loss that goes below the band. And so the first close below the band would be right here at about 16%. And so that's a pretty wide stop. And so you're not going to get any profits with this, right? I mean, you could accelerate this a little higher, but you end up having a trade, even if you go to 124, 125, you're still looking at less than 2R. It's not really worth it to me. So I don't know if I would trade. I'm not really trading this particular price. Again, this goes back to being patient. And part of being patient is not necessarily sitting on your hands, although it is. Part of it is waiting for a proper trading move, because you could have a trading opportunity. There's been plenty of times in the past 60 days where you could have longed or you could have shorted. But that doesn't mean you would have made a lot of money doing it, or I know I'm in the minority on this, but it also could have wasted your time. And that's where I really put things in perspective. Like, okay, yeah, maybe you could make a day's wages, but how many hours, how many days did you lose doing that? So there is a big difference there, right? And so I do some. I have a business, somewhat relative to crypto. I deal with crypto clients, but I also deal with non-crypto clients. And one of the things I do is social media. One of the things I do with that is YouTube channels for other clients. And one client I have, is monetized, but he only makes about $2 or $3 per day. And so he is a growing channel, but it's one of those things where like $2 or $3 a day is not really that much, right? And so, on average, so you have to really study that and understand. I say that relatively speaking, like you might have a trade where you're only gaining a few extra bucks here or there or whatever percentage, right? And so you also got to understand too, like if you're not risking very much, you're probably not making very much money either. So understand that. I do have a video coming up probably later in this week about that, like just calculating risk. I'm going to do a little bit more statistical analysis because I think that's what a lot of people really need. I'm going to talk more about like funding fees and slippage and things like that, because I think a lot of people lose money on that too. That's something I usually don't cover, but I think is very important, because you might have a good trade and then after you close it and everything, like you don't make much money or you actually lose a little bit. and it's because of slippage, funding, things like that. So anyway, that's kind of what I see on Bitcoin for the 1 day. 4 hour here, we actually broke underneath here, and we're actually retesting it. We're still under this, so this could be an indication that we could come back down. Now we are inside this range, inside the 94 or 95,000 basically, and then the 93.6. And so if either side of this could be a break. Now if you wanted to do something like this, you certainly could do something like so. You're going to have a high leverage trade, but that will be about a 2R. Again, is it worth the risk? In my opinion, it's not worth the risk. I would much wait for a larger trade to activate. So that's pretty much Bitcoin in a nutshell. I think it is a waiting game, and we'll see how this goes. I do have two positions here that I've had for some time, and both of these look pretty good here. This one's about 1.5R, and then the other one is about 2.82. So we got, was it about 4.3 R, so not too bad. Just kind of waiting that one out. Not really, it's spot, so I'm not really focused on it necessarily too much. So that's just something to keep in mind. So anyway, that is Bitcoin. Let's go to Ethereum. Ethereum's not much to really say. I think I did quite a good analysis and observations with O2 today. So I won't spend too much time. Ethereum hasn't really done much either. Really, it's just inside this range break, 1750 to the downside, 1863 to the upside. Got to wait for that break. That's pretty much it for the 4 hour. We are kind of struggling. A lot of these wicks is not a good sign at all, especially on Coinbase. Really bad sign. Probably going to get that scythe to 1750. And if you do, there's a few options here. You could wait for this range break and then go back into the gap here. I mean, you might get like a 2R. That's the thing is, I don't really like a target of 1500 that is low. I'm not saying we can't get it. I think we definitely can. It's just I would wait for long opportunities. So there's another example, right? Like, is it worth shorting here when you could just kind of just wait for a retest? And one thing I also see is where's this at? Here we go. It usually disappears. I have this breaker right here. Okay, and then you also have right here. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do a fib block instead. There we go, because it tests the mid, so that's good. So this top line, 1671, is probably going to be a target. I can see that coming. If we fail here, that's going to be the failure target, and that's where I'm interested to long. And so that's the thing. Like, I could short here on lower time frames. I think it could make sense if we get that failure, but I'd rather focus on high time frame spot. See, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, what is your best price to time idea or scenario, I should say. That's what you got to keep in mind. And funny enough, that's how Aaron operates too. It's a price to time indicator. So anyway, that's Ethereum. Let's go to Solana, down 1% here. It actually did pretty decent overall yesterday. I think it did like 3%, but still, or no, 1.7, totally off. So, but it's still within the band here, still underneath the resistance of the midline. So nothing really too fancy here. I actually don't really like Solana that much right now. Has the retest below the band. Talked about this in the observations to Otsu. Not really the best sign. Probably going to get that 132. Would not be surprised if Bitcoin holds here and then the altcoins kind of suffer for the next couple of weeks. That's also a possibility. I got quite a few ones circling around. Like I said, the weekly video I did will cover quite a bit of that. It was like a 40-minute video. So anyway, you do have the bearish wedge forming. It's getting ready to form and cross here, but the conviction rate's about 21%, so that's going to be pretty low. So I think the bulls have a chance here to kind of get kind of a rounded, formation. I don't know if it's this is kind of a weird Adam and Eve pattern. That's a possibility we could get that as well. But I do think this looks like we could get a drop down to 132. Would not be surprised if we get a drop down at some point this week, and then maybe recover quite a bit of that either at the end of this week or next week. So I think that's a possibility. So anyway, that is the video. Let me know what you think. Again, please subscribe to my YouTube if you want to. Don't have to. It is free, obviously, to do it. I'm posting more there. I would really appreciate it. So I hope you have a good day. As always, let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you next time.